Have you ever stopped and wondered why you make the choices you do? Like, really wondered? Well, today we're diving deep into Dan Ariely's fantastic book, Predictably Irrational, to pull back the curtain on the hidden and, frankly, pretty weird forces that are secretly pulling the strings on our decisions every single day.
For hundreds of years, this is pretty much how we've thought about ourselves, right? Shakespeare totally nailed the classic view. Humans are these amazing, rational creatures making logical, calculated decisions. It's a nice thought, but is it actually true?
Because here's the big idea that Ariely's work throws at us. What if that whole noble reason thing is just a story we tell ourselves? What if, when you really get down to it, our decision-making is actually kind of messy, super emotional, and flawed in the exact same ways over and over again?
So where did this revolutionary idea even come from? Well, it all kicks off with a really personal story, one that sparked this entire investigation into how our brains really work.
Ariely's journey didn't start in some fancy research lab, but in a hospital bed. A terrible accident left him with severe burns, and he had to endure years of unbelievably painful treatments. This experience basically turned him into an outsider, just watching the world and the curious behaviors of the people around him.
So every day he had his bandages changed, and this is where the first big question hit him. The nurses had a theory that ripping the bandages off fast was better. One big spike of pain was supposedly less traumatic overall. But for Ariely, it was just pure torture. He started to wonder, wouldn't removing them slowly with less intense pain actually hurt less in total? This clash between what everyone assumed was rational and his own experience lit a fire in him to question all the assumptions we make about making decisions.
And that brings us to the first huge insight from his work. We are just awful at judging things in a vacuum. We need to see things in context. We need something to compare them to.
Okay, check this out. This is a real ad Ariely found. You've got three options: a web-only subscription for $59, a print-only for $125, or a web and print subscription for $125. Take a second. Which one do you pick? And seriously, what is that middle option even doing there?
It seems completely useless, doesn't it? I mean, who would ever choose that? But that's the genius of it. That print-only option is what Ariely calls a decoy. Its job isn't to be chosen. Its only job is to make that third option, the combo deal, look like an absolutely fantastic bargain. We can't help but compare the $225 options, and our brain immediately goes, wow, the combo is a total steal.
And this isn't just about prices, you know? Our eyes do the same thing. Look at this famous illusion. Just focus on the two circles in the middle. Which one looks bigger to you? Yeah, for most of us, the one on the right looks way bigger.
But you probably guessed it, they're exactly the same size. This shows the whole thing perfectly. Our brains are hardwired to compare. We do it with everything: the house we want to buy, the salary we're offered, even the people we date. We don't have some kind of internal value meter. We figure things out by seeing how they stack up to what's right next to them.
This whole idea of relativity leads us right into the next big concept, which is called anchoring. This is how that very first piece of information we get about something tends to stick in our head and influence every single decision we make about it from then on.
So basically, that first number you see or that first price you hear, it sets an anchor in your mind. And once that anchor is dropped, we tend to stay pretty close to it, even if that first number was completely made up on the spot. It's like a mental fingerprint.
You want to hear a crazy story about this? Get this. A guy named Salvador Asel was known as the Pearl King. He had all these Tahitian black pearls that nobody wanted. People thought they were worthless. So what did he do? He put them in the window of a super famous jeweler on Fifth Avenue, right next to diamonds and emeralds, and slapped an outrageously high price on them. That first price became the anchor, and almost overnight, these things went from junk to a must-have luxury. Now, Ariely tested this himself with a really clever experiment. He went to one group of students and asked, "Would you pay me $10 to listen to me read some poetry?" Then he went to another group and asked, "Would you listen if I paid you $10? The results are wild. The first group, anchored to the idea of paying, actually offered to pay him about $2. The second group, anchored to the idea of being paid, demanded almost $3 to listen. The exact same experience was valued as either a pleasure or a chore, all because of that first, totally arbitrary question.
Okay, so let's move on to one of the most powerful irrational forces there is: the incredible, emotional pull of the word free. It's not just another price. It's like a magic button that makes us lose our minds a little bit.
All right, let's walk through another one of Ariely's experiments. He offered people a choice, a fancy Lindt truffle for 15 cents or a regular old Hershey's Kiss for just 1 penny. Most people, did the math. They saw the truffle was a great deal for a much better chocolate, so they picked that. Makes sense.
But then, he just made one tiny tweak. He dropped the price of each one by a single cent. So now the truffle is 14 cents and the Kiss is free. Now, the price difference between them is still exactly the same, 14 cents. So logically, our preference shouldn't change, right? Wrong. It changes everything.
The second that Kiss became free, the demand for it just exploded. We see that word free, and our rational brain just kind of switches off. Our brain thinks there's no downside, no risk of loss. It creates this powerful emotional rush that clouds our judgment, and we grab the free thing, even if a second ago we wanted something else entirely.
All this emotional stuff leads us right to our last big idea, the battle that's raging inside every single one of us. Ariely says we're not just one person. We're actually two. We've got our calm, cool, collected Dr. Jekyll and our emotional, impulsive Mr. Hyde.
You see, when we're in a cold state, or calm, or thinking clearly, we make all sorts of wonderful predictions about ourselves. Oh, I'll definitely eat healthy this week. I'm going to save more money. But then we get into a hot state. Maybe we're angry or passionate or even just starving, and a totally different person takes the wheel. And that person couldn't care less about Dr. Jekyll's well-laid plans. To test this, Ariely did a pretty memorable study. He asked male college students a bunch of questions about their morals and decision-making, first when they were calm, and then again when they were, sexually aroused. The results were just jaw-dropping. In their cold state, they all predicted they'd be upstanding, responsible guys. But in their hot state, their willingness to do risky or morally shady things went through the roof. It's proof that we are just terrible at predicting how we'll actually behave when emotions take over. So what's the bottom line here? What Ariely shows us is that while we're not these perfect rational beings we like to think we are, our irrationality isn't random either. It's systematic. It's predictable. We're constantly being pushed and pulled by context, by anchors, by the magic of free, and by our own emotions. But here's the good news. Once we understand these patterns, we can start to see them coming, and maybe, just maybe, we can start to make smarter choices.
And that leaves us with one last thing to think about. Think about the big anchors in your own life. What you do for a living, where you live, what you think a house or a car should cost. What was that first bit of information that set your expectations? Was it a thoughtful decision, or was it just random chance? And the really big question is that anchor still pulling you in the right direction?